Hi, I'm Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0. This week we're going to talk about a few current event topics, mainly the rules change proposed by the USGA and the R&A. And Gary has the topics that we're going to go through. Gary, take it away.
Golf Show 2.0. Boy, you should have been here last week for 1.0. Might have been the greatest podcast in history. I don't want to brag, but 1.0 was something. So today's topics, we're going to talk about the bifurcation of the ball, the rollback for the tour pros. We're going to talk about the elevated events and the no-cut limited field version of it. And we're going to talk about, what's that guy's name again? Tiger Woods. Is he going to play anywhere else? But first, let's check what time it is.
You have a master's clock.
It's Masters time. By my calculations, we're now only 77 hours away from the Masters. The Masters is approaching.
Okay.
So let's start with the topics, Kathy Bissell.
Yes.
Yay or nay? The R&A and the USGA should have rolled back the ball for the pros and bifurcated it for amateurs. Yay or nay?
I'm going to say nay, because there are other ways to do it. I was listening.
Oh my God, you've written so many anti-ball goes too far stories. What are you doing?
No, I said that the pros hit it too far. I didn't say it had to be the golf ball.
You wrote about the 8,000-yard golf course.
I did. And I still think that something needs to be done, but I don't necessarily think it's the golf ball.
Flip-flopping.
Well, okay. I think they could have shortened.
So what would you do instead of the ball?
They could have shortened the length of the shaft. That would reduce the distance hit because the arc would be smaller. They could change the size of the drivers, and that might make a difference. They could do some regulating of the shafts, and that might have an effect on distance. I'm sure it's easier for them to change the ball. And this isn't really new, because if you remember, it used to be that the British Open, and I think all of the events in Europe, were played with a small ball. I can't remember what the size was because it's so long ago. But
they could have made the ball slightly larger is what they could have done.
Well, they could have. Yeah, that's another thing they could have done. Like a tennis ball.
Yeah, that'd slow you down.
You can't hit that one 300 yards.
And Rory McIlroy has this putt to shoot 103 and win the Masters. I guess they should have made the holes bigger.
So I'm not sure that was the only way that something could have been done. And
the question isn't, is it the only way? Should they have done it? Yes or no? And you say no.
I'm saying no.
Well, I'm saying yes, because they haven't done anything. They've let this slide really for 30 years.
Yeah.
And finally, Mike Wan, and I don't know how much Martin the Slumbers of the R&A was involved, but Mike Wan, who's been great everywhere he's been, including the LPGA, which is one of the harder jobs as being commissioner. He came in, and it didn't take him long to assess the situation, see the problem, recognize it, and take action. And all the ball-making companies have known about this. They've all got golf balls, shorter golf balls, patented and trademarked, and all. They're all ready to roll them out. They haven't made them yet, but they've all got their own proprietary ball ready to go. So I just don't think it's going to be that big of a change.
Okay.
Once all the pros switch, it's not going to. It'll take them 2 days to change, and it's not going to be a big deal, and it's not going to solve the problem. But what gripes me is these people who write stories saying, well, scoring averages haven't gone down. The ball, it's not a problem. It's like, have you looked at the golf courses?
Something's the problem.
All the golf courses have gotten significantly longer.
Yes,
they've gotten significantly more difficult. They've grown more rough. The fairways in many cases are narrower. And if we had Mark Russell of the PGA Tour rules here, he would tell you that they used to put the pins 4 steps from the edge.
Yes.
2 years ago, they started putting them 2 steps from the edge. So the
Really? I
scoring
knew that
averages
they put
haven't
them
changed
3.
because they have significantly toughened up the golf course. So use that.
Okay.
The numbers don't tell the story on scoring. So I think it's a good move, and it's not going to affect the average guy, and it's going to help the golf courses who just can't get any bigger than they already are.
Well, I was listening on PGA Tour radio to, I don't remember who, but they were talking on this topic. And one of them was someone who's on the PGA Tour, and the other one was somebody who had been on the PGA Tour. And they were talking about, sure, they get a new ball, and then all of a sudden we're all going to run to our manufacturers and we're going to figure out some kind of materials or design changes that's going to allow us to hit that ball as far as possible. And it may not really make the difference that the USGA thinks it's going to make. And so, you know, we had that golf ball wizard on as a guest, who's now with Encore, but he's been with several different manufacturers.
He helped make the Pro V1.
Yes. And so he helped create the problem. But in the end, he talked about all the different kinds of materials and changes and layers of stuff inside the golf ball and how each one did a different thing. And so I'm sure all those manufacturers are ready with something, but I'm not sure it just doing something to the ball. I'm not sure that that's, the way. I think maybe the driver would have been better, but that's me not knowing that much about.
Well, a smaller heads might have helped somewhat.
Yeah.
I don't think you can change shaft lengths because you've got to be able to fit tour players who are 5'5" and 6'8". And if you start limiting shaft size, you may be penalizing someone like our colleague John Garrity, who's 6'7". He might need a 47-inch shaft on his driver just to set it up normal. So there are a lot of things they could have done. More spin in the ball to make it curve more, which to penalize a miss hit on a drive. Like in the old days when I hit Persimmon, if you miss hit it, you not only did you lose 25 yards, but it went right crooked because the balls didn't go. They had more spin. That would have look once they've got the balls bifurcated, they can continue to refine that and add more rules. The big leap is having 2 sets of rules, 2 sets.
Well, see, now we've already had that when we had the British people playing one kind of ball.
Yeah,
and it's not like it's different because we already did that before. If people don't,
the USGA says, "Oh, we can't
realize
have bifurcation." Well, you had it for about 100 years.
Yeah, so that's been in existence before, and people screaming about how you can't possibly do that. Well, we did it before, so you could do it now if you wanted to.
Well, I enjoy hearing the tour players cry. They act like it's going to be a big deal, and everyone's defending their own turf, their own birthright. Everyone's defending their own advantage, whether it's Titleist or any of the ball makers, any of the sponsors who maybe think this might be more boring. I don't see how they think that, but players they're all on the payroll of some golf equipment company, so they're all going to pursue their own best interests. Who's looking out for the best interests of golf. That's the USGA and the R&A. Everybody else has got their own thing going, so that's that.
Well, they haven't until now, and so they pick one thing that they think is the easiest. And I just think that the manufacturers and the testing equipment and the materials kinds of things that you can put on the face of drivers, because that's the main concern for people. I just think that they're going to find materials that negate the subtraction of distance in the new balls.
Well, my son tried to get on the tour. He came out of college, and the first thing they took away square grooves, which he'd used all his life.
Yeah.
That was going to be a big change. After a year, nobody even noticed it.
No.
That didn't accomplish anything other than my son thought it changed his game. All of a sudden, his wedge play, he couldn't get the ball to spin like he did. So it really hurt him personally. And I don't know how many other players felt that way, but everybody had to adjust. So, but this is probably just one step.
look at Rory McIlroy having to find a new driver because he'd hit his driver so many times that the face was too springy in testing, and he didn't want to test it and have a bad test, and he just felt like he needed to find a new driver because of what his driver was doing and how far he was hitting it, and he hasn't found the right one yet. Or I think his performance at a couple of tournaments would have been a little bit more like, normal Rory.
Well,
So
my driver's name is Faversham. He should be picking me up in the limo soon, so we got to keep this moving. Yay or nay, Kathy Bissell?
Yes.
PGA Tour should go along with this bifurcation of the ball and use it at PGA Tour events, which if they don't, that would probably mean they would play one kind of ball and you would have the shorter flying ball for the Tour pros at the US Open, the Open Championship, probably the Masters, PGA Championship. We don't really know. Yay or nay?
That's a tough one. I'd really like to see the
Well, that's
Tour.
supposed to be tough.
Well, I said it was
easy.
tough.
We wouldn't have to talk about it.
Well, I would really like to see the Tour make their own rules, because there have been some bad rules that have come into existence lately, and that just kind of annoys me. I mean, like the long putter thing. I mean, I think that was a bad change. Not that I ever liked long putters. I agree that it's not ideal for how people should play golf, but they let people do that for what, 30, 35 years. You can't just, yank it out after that length of time. That's a bad thing to do. And then they did it. And so this is gonna, I wish the Tour would make their own rules, and then the Tour pros could get some equipment and be confident that they knew what they were using. I mean, it's like me and a new computer. If I can't get the right programs installed on my computer, I can't use it, and it doesn't do me any good. So I'm sure they feel the same way about their golf balls and their drivers and their wedges and their putters, and for all I know, their shoes, but I think it'd be more interesting if the Tour decided, maybe we won't,
So, yay or nay? We got a discussion of your computer and your Tour players' shoes. We did not get a yay or nay.
They shouldn't, but they will.
Follow this. Yay or nay, Madam President?
What was the original question?
Moving on.
Should they?
I'm going to say yay, because it's going to be it would cause a divide in golf.
Oh yeah.
To have the Tour players using different balls at different tournaments. That's going to be confusing.
It would be fun to have everybody yelling, but they won't do it.
Rory McIlroy's already said, "Yeah, I'm playing the ball. If the other guys don't, I'm going to keep playing it." So I'm with Rory.
Yes, Rory's on the right side of everything. Okay.
Faversham's pulling into the driveway here.
Tell him to sit on it.
Yay or nay? The elevated events, no cuts, limited fields, a handful of the 16 elevated events. Should the PGA Tour have invented elevated events that have purses of $20 to $25 million versus, say, the Hartford tournament that has a purse of $9 million? Yay or nay?
Well, I think they should be able to have whatever kind of events they want to have. I think that they needed to do something to get their stars in front of sponsors primarily and in front of the networks to compete with LIV. And I think that's why they did it, but they may have been inclined to do it anyway. And we'll never know that because LIV interfered with whatever they would have done in the first place. Your Masters clock is coming again.
It's just a hint that time is passing while you don't answer the question. Yay or nay? Elevated events, limited fields, no cuts.
Sure. I've loved every one of the elevated events so far. You get to see the quote unquote stars of the game compete against each other. And when they're all thrown into a hopper with other guys over 4 rounds, they're going to rise to the top. The cream is going to float on up.
No, it's all cream, though, so nobody floats up. I think the 2 most exciting events have been Honda and Valspar. You have guys who are not cream of the crop, and Taylor Moore winds up winning Valspar over Adam Schenk and Jordan Spieth. That was an electrifying finish. In an elevated event, 2 of those 3 guys aren't in the field.
Oh,
So,
absolutely true.
I understand why they did it, and it's a good move to have all your best players play X number of times. I don't think they had to have a limited field. I don't think they have to have no cut. You could have 120 players at least.
Well,
the more players in the field creates more movement and more excitement.
Well,
I don't think that. So I'm negative, but I understand why they did it, and it's going to work. But
the Phoenix tournament,
when the other shoe drops, you're going to wind up with the PGA Tour that has 22 events instead of 45.
Well, that's
not going to be good for anybody.
Yeah, I understand. But something like the Phoenix tournament and Tiger's tournament, those had not smaller fields, but they were very exciting.
Right.
I mean, Tigers might have been 120.
Fields, really.
Huh?
I'm against the smaller fields and the no cuts more than I am the elevated events.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think elevating the events is
wait a minute. Let's check the time on that. We both agreed on something. Wait, here it was. Well, this is not even the accurate time, but it's Masters time. We agreed on that. Mark that moment in history. I'm getting a lot of use out of this prop. I have to pay the Masters residual. All right, yay or nay? Well, it's not a yay or nay question. No, it is. Is Tiger Woods going to play anything else the rest of this year other than the Masters, the PGA, the U.S. Open, and the Open Championship? Will he play, not counting the silly season, will he play any other PGA Tour events?
I was going to say, of course he will. He's going to play the father-son, and if he can, his own tournament, the Hero, at the end of the year.
Right.
And those he's definitely going to play. Anything else? I don't think so. I don't think he's ready yet. I'm not sure he's going to ever be ready, but we'll see. I was amazed that he played his Genesis tournament, Riviera, and amazed that he got up and down that hill behind the clubhouse, the one that separates 18 and 1. But I'd forgotten that the players have steps they can take, and going up the steps is a lot easier than walking up and down that slope that they have, which everyone but that's a non-player has to use.
Yeah, I've heard a rumor they're going to put one of those motorized seats you can see the infomercials for put in your home, and they're going to build a railing there, and Tiger's going to be able to ride that up to the top of the clubhouse. But let me be clear, that's just a rumor.
Well,
I don't look. If you gave Tiger a couple of weeks after the Open Championship, he might be able to play something. Except now you're into the FedEx Cup.
Yeah, there's nothing to play.
It's unlikely he's going to qualify for that unless he were to win a major. So I'm going to say no. He's probably not going to play anything.
Well,
attention, John Deere. He's probably not going to play.
Probably not. Well,
Rocket Mortgage, he's probably not going to play.
There's an outside chance that maybe he'll play the Genesis Scottish Open. Is that the title of it?
I don't think it's right before the Open. I don't think he'd try to play. I don't think he can play 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I don't either.
Try to play 2 weeks in a row. And the Players' Championship, you thought he was going to play, but that may have had something to do with his off the course.
Yeah,
issues
which we still don't know
anything about. He may have wanted to duck out of that instead of.
Yeah, it would have been a circus. It would have been a bad situation for him. So if that was going to, people pick certain times that they're going to decide to have their news break. And I'm sure faced with the idea that the news would break in the middle of Players' Championship week, he decided, not going to do that. But, he wasn't signed up for it by Friday before, or else he was, and then he pulled out.
How many questions will Tiger field on that topic during Masters Week?
0.
I'm setting the over-under at 0, and I'm taking the under.
0. Absolutely 0.
All right. Yay or nay, is that Faversham honking the horn in the driveway that it's time to go?
Not quite. You got another 5 minutes if you want. If you want to throw out something else.
Well, we could say for World Golf Championships.
Yep.
Would they last 20, 25 years?
Well,
they've been rendered obsolete by elevated events that basically are World Golf Championships.
Yes, I agree with that. And maybe Greg Norman outlasted the World Golf Championships and created his own new thing. So I guess we should give him some credit for that, except he didn't have enough funds to create it, but he found some people who wanted to back him. And I'm not sure how many of those players are signed up for very much longer. And I'm not sure how they feel about the fact that they're not going to get those big private planes and they're not going to get their wives and caddies, taken around the world for free. I think that's going to upset the players when they had this.
Well, they're making enough money. They don't really have to worry about that. It was a nice perk, but they can afford.
Yeah, they can
pay for that out of their millions and millions of dollars of bonus money.
Yeah, they can.
But I think the big thing is, in the Open Championship has a tournament where any way they can sneak in and get points, they're going to go play in events like that in Asia or wherever they can, or some of those co-sanctioned World Tour events. They're going to try to play in those to get some points to keep their points alive. But really, if this goes on, and I suspect you assume it will, they're not going to get ranking points.
No,
you're good. The only live golf players who are in majors are going to be, past champions. Past champions of the. You get 5 or 10 years for the Open, and the PGA, the Masters, and the British Open is basically a lifetime, isn't it?
British Open is until you're 60 or 65.
The Masters, same thing, and PGA, you can play forever.
Yes, and the U.S. Open is 5 years now.
Okay, so Patrick Reed is in at Augusta and not anywhere else
until he gets the letter that says "Don't come back."
I don't think that will happen.
I don't either. Nor should
it. Require Augusta to take a stand, and they don't like to do that. They're just going to let the points decide things.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it. Is the points will roll off because those people are no longer getting points on anything that they're playing in, and then the big crunch comes if the world ranking czars, whoever they are, decide to give points to the live events. And if they do, how many points and what kind of points will they be? And at that time, will all of the live golfers be so far down the list that playing in a tournament with them won't give anybody very many points, if that makes any sense? Since they do it relative to who's playing in the event, that's how they decide to award points.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Faversham's waving a lunch bag, and it appears he's made a roast beef sandwich for me.
I think you better go then. I know how hungry you can get.
So that might be time to go. Faversham says it's time to wrap it up.
Okay.
So thanks for watching the Golf Show 2.0, which is twice as good as Golf Show 1.0.
Oh, I don't know if it's twice as good.
Well above average.
Shameless plug. Subscribe.
Now it's free. Nothing will happen to you. You will receive no emails. Click like, and in our
and
drive,
see what happens. We'll have a like party
to get enough viewers to earn 17 cents.
How are we on that money count,
through
Gary?
College, so I need the help. Until next time, we're the Golf Show 2.0.